Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KMED. July the 15th is our date. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you today. We're both real estate brokers with John L. Scott in Southern Oregon, and we get together with you once a week here on KMED to talk about all sorts of real estate-related issues and topics through, that's our 9th year and almost 400 shows, and it's still fun to come out with you every weekend here and talk a little bit about real estate, about what's going on in Jackson and Josephine counties. And man, we are still in some sort of a real estate market that is continuing to appreciate. The latest stats, came out from the Southern Oregon Multiple Listing Service for the 3-month activity, which was to be April, May, and June, which turned out to be actually fewer homes than a year ago, but not by many. 726 homes. Joe, as you know, the average median price has risen 8% this year to $265,000. Think about it. In 2012, the average price was $162. It's risen 64% in 5 years, the value. That's how much this market is moving and shaking and being there.
And
it's
how
amazing.
Far we fell in that Great Recession, too.
It was funny. This week, I just want to say that went to the Ashland MLS meeting, and it's amazing as you look at the number of the prestige homes or luxury homes that are on the market. If you go up to the overall in Jackson County, the available homes in the market was about 6 months supply in the million category and above. Well, if you go to 1 to 1.5 million, it's that 6-month category. If you go above 1.5 million, it jumps to around 20 months. The difference of that. So if you're at that 1.6, 1.7, you may want to drop those prices. Anyway, there's a lot of prestige homes seems to be listing lately. Are people leaving? Are people in these prestige homes? They're all moving. They're all selling. They're all in the market.
There may be some pent-up want to move where the market was not going to bear them the price that they fairly thought squarely shot they should have got out with. So I think that's kind of spurred some of those sellers' interest. And it's interesting because their market availabilities are pretty much close to a normal market in those luxury homes, and then the story is far different when you get below that.
Anyway, if you missed last week's show, wanted to go back and listen to it about the market with Jim Remley, who's the managing principal broker at John L. Scott, was with us, and he's so good about the market and the conditions going on. That show's available. Of course, you can watch it free at realestateshowOregon.com. Okay, Kimberly London is here with us today. Kimberly's from the City of Medford's Building Department and is involved with the area of permitting. And of course, today's show, by the way, is presented by the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors in our education series, and that's why Kimberly is here, Joe, because she's a teacher and instructor for continuing education for realtors. As we always say, whatever people tell realtors, the public needs to hear the same things. It really is true.
We're a conduit here for that.
Yeah. So welcome to the show, Kimberly. Nice to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so it's true, isn't it? I mean, people need to hear about permitting and the kinds of things that that entail, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
It's quite shocking, some of the things that need permits, and people should know about that.
All right. So tell us a little bit about that, because I know, my goodness, people always ask those questions, especially if something looks weird in the house. Like the garage has been converted, for example, or you've added this thing in the backyard, that's supposed to be like maybe a sunroom or something, or whatever. But so do those types of things. Okay, Kimberly, what needs to be permitted? What do I need to do a permit for?
The garage conversion absolutely needs permits, as well as the attic or basement. The little shed in the backyard, there's stipulations on it, 200 square foot or less, doesn't need a permit. You still need to meet the setbacks from your property lines. Fences 7 foot or less do not need permits. You're allowed to have an 8-foot fence in a residential area, but that would need a permit.
An 8-foot fence. And we talk about this all the time. What size fence does a person need? Do I need to have a permit with it? I
just cut my lattice down a weekend ago to 6 feet.
Okay.
So you did not need a permit then, but if you kept that 8 foot, you would need a permit to do that.
Yeah, I would have just been educated on that right here and now.
And is it okay?
I about a 7.5 foot lattice. Yeah, that would have probably fallen in that permit category because it was up there.
Now, Kimberly, I can just hear people listening to us saying, I need a permit for that stuff for. I mean, those kind of questions. I'm sure you get those all the time.
Well, we've all tried to pull out at an intersection and not been able to see if there was a car coming or a person on a bicycle because of the fence height. Or shrubbery or anything like that. The 8-foot fence needs permits because of the wind load. We need to make sure you have footings. You don't want it falling on your child, the neighbor, a dog, you just don't want it falling over, because as we know, fences are not usually a happy situation between neighbors anyway. So let's keep it going. And then that may determine whether you need a 7-foot fence or an 8-foot fence also.
See, so the building department in the city, and you're within the city of Medford.
Yes.
But a lot of this stuff covers even if you don't live in Medford, right? I mean, the things that we talked about.
The overall international building code.
Okay.
But each jurisdiction does have their own little
quirkiness.
ordinances.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So when your office in the city of Medford, what is the number one kind of thing that people come in and seek, that they need, the types of things that people seek from you for permits? Tell us, what are the top ones?
Well, new construction, brand new houses, of course.
Obviously.
Additions to houses, garage conversions, fencing. Right now, swimming pools are very popular. In the month of November, before you have everyone at your house for Thanksgiving or Christmas, the pellet stoves, wood stoves, gas log fireplaces.
Go back to the swimming pools for a second. Swimming pools.
Sure.
Like Joe has a swimming pool in his house, but
I pulled it up, put it in the garage in the winter.
That's what I'm saying. You don't need a permit to do that. It's only when do I need a permit for a swimming pool?
So in-ground pools, any artificial body of water should have a permit, and it's mostly to make sure you meet barrier requirements for drowning purposes and stuff like that. So ponds would qualify as an in-ground artificial body of water.
So if I want to put a pond, I mean, not a pond, if I wanted to put a water feature, right? It's a water feature?
Sure. That's an artificial body of water.
And you need a permit for that?
You need to check. Well, it depends on the depth. And of course, it's a water feature, so you're probably going to have some type of electrical there.
Oh, sure.
So you're getting into an electrical permit as well, possibly. Just call and check.
Okay,
all, I just want people to call and check. And then the above ground pools, you said you picked it up and put it in the garage, but you probably still had a ladder there. And the ladder has to be able to be flip up or be removed, because it shouldn't be there.
Nope.
Children and dogs specifically do not have the strength to get out of those pools. If you are not home and your dog jumps in your swimming pool, he is not going to have the upper arm strength to get himself out. And neither is a small child who knows you have a pool in the backyard and maybe mommy's taking a nap next door or something.
Yeah.
So there are requirements and safety things that you should follow regardless of the type of pool you have. Just any artificial body of water.
That's true. That's not something I actually need a permit from the city for, my little Intex pool, but you're absolutely right. And those are the pool rules you just listed for my house.
It is, isn't it?
And the yard is blocked off. You can only get access if you're allowed through that back door to the backyard, and that ladder comes out when the kids aren't in. And
Right.
Do you get? How many of these things do you get? Are you busy right now? Tell me about the activity of what's going on, kind of for us to get a sense of. I guess
what kind of permit
activity
we are super busy right now.
Really?
If you think about it, school's out, so all of my schools are doing their remodeling and additions and construction and stuff like that. And even the private sector schools are remodeling right now as well. And then we always have the hospitals.
St. Mary's has a
field.
huge project underway. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. All right. What else is
Kids
there?
Unlimited has a major
huge
project going
underway.
on.
Renovating the neighborhood there.
Yes. And then we have the Northgate phases coming up and other commercial structures and proposed, Cracker Barrel, which everyone's already heard about. I don't know when they're going to open. Please don't call me every day.
That's one thing Kimberly can't help you with.
Yeah.
Nor can she help you answer questions about Costco in Central Point either.
Yeah.
You don't know that.
Yeah.
So the revenue generated from this, I mean, it seems like you just mentioned a whole bunch of commercial or school or government activity out of this thing. I assume that generates quite a bit of income and things for the city of Medford.
Sure. The new construction has impact fees, which there's proceeds that go to our parks and then our engineering department for streets and, public improvements.
You're talking about systems development charges?
I am.
Right. Those are the three nastiest words in real estate too.
I
some
like all
people,
those
aren't
people.
they?
So building permits, the structural building permit, electrical permit, plumbing and mechanical, we are completely self-sufficient off of our permit fees. Our complete department is. So we're not out of the general fund. So when you pay a permit fee, you're paying the building, it stays within the building department to help, these services, me going out at, teaching and talking to people and just trying to, let people know what we have available to them.
As a Medford resident, I appreciate that. Yeah, a self-sufficient department that's doing the work that is required. And we're talking beforehand, you get pushback and you get realtors sometimes that get upset and buyers of homes or owners of homes. And I'm kind of trying to figure it out because these are things that are in place. We talked about the health and safety hazards just of a pool, or a fence obstructing the view to a roadway and things like that. Yeah. These are things that are really well thought out for everyone's safety and benefit for the good of the order of all of us, really. And it's interesting that you get so much pushback.
Sometimes. And that's why I want to, be out
Talk
there.
About this.
Yeah.
Well, it's just part of the game. When people's houses, it's their real estate, it's their kind of things, and don't understand the process. People don't understand the process.
Yeah, and some of the things they ask you to do may well save your life, as opposed to the way you might have done it for a little cheaper without the knowledge you really maybe should have to have it up to code.
It just depends if you think it was too much government overreach or not into your life. Okay, what do I need to do? If I've gone in there to my, I think the biggest thing that I see are garages that have been converted, right? I mean, I see that all the time.
Yeah.
And say it's not. All right, or what has not permitted. It's another way. I didn't get a permit and I just moved in there or whatever.
You're going to come to me before you list that property, and we're going to try to get it rectified.
Okay, what should happen there, Kimberly? Because I don't think anybody knows. I mean, people don't really say, well, I don't know, because there's a box on the form that says, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And we're also, as realtors, as we take a listing, it is part of our duty is to make a thorough inspection of that property and be ahead of.
But you don't know sometimes.
You don't know sometimes.
So
but when you can see it clearly or have a notion that way, just being in front of that can really get the transaction started in the proper way and not have it come back and blow the deal at the end.
And the city of Medford has accurate permit records from 1962 to current. Readily accessible and available. You could give me an address and it'll take me 5 minutes to determine what permits I have. Now, if I don't know the garage was converted and there was not a permit for it, and you don't make me aware that, hey, I have this garage converted, I'm not going to be able to tell you it doesn't have permits because it didn't have a permit.
It doesn't have a permit to it.
So I am requesting that real estate agents or potential purchasers or sellers come in and let's figure out what you do and do not have permits for.
Okay. Say I don't have a permit.
Sure.
And you say I can get that rectified. Okay, tell me what that means to get something like this rectified. Not just necessarily for a garage, but other kinds of things.
Sure.
I can actually get this rectified. I can change it, or tell me what does that mean?
There's options.
Okay.
A garage conversion. I mean, if you still don't have your adequate off-street parking, and that's occurred a few times, but mostly there's ways of remedying that by adding additional paving. Because you can't consider the street your permanent parking.
The street's not permanent
and
parking.
Now you don't have a garage to accommodate.
But if I have a 2-car driveway, does that work?
As long as it meets the setbacks, it could work. And most of the time, that's not usually the issue. So we have option one, which is obtain a demolition permit. It's about $134.40 for you to put the garage back. Put it back to a garage. Remove my heat. I'm not really caring if you keep your carpet, if you have your pool table out there, because we all know everyone has their functioning garages as a man cave, woman cave, or just, pool table, kid room. And as long as it's still a garage without the heat system and a few other things, it's a garage. But if you're listing a home and that's listed as a family room or something else,
a bedroom,
we absolutely need to address that.
Okay, so how do you address them? What do I have to do? Do I have to?
You come down here.
You just got to get rid of it, or can I get it permitted somehow?
You can get it permitted.
I can.
We do not do penalties. Okay. You submit plans as if you were proposing to do it. You are going to have to open up walls. And we're going to have to be able to confirm that meets minimum code. Because,
take some sheetrocks and studs down.
So or T11 siding from the outside, possibly.
So you're going to look at the electrical framing, and the framing, the plumbing, to see if it meets the codes.
Current
code. How often do they not meet codes? I mean, is it a mix of things that you find?
Usually, even in new construction right now, garages are framed 2x4 framing, where the house is 2x6, and they use the rolled batting insulation. So unless they know and fur it out with a 2x2 or buy a rigid insulation, my walls usually do not
They wouldn't meet code.
So you're pulling them apart, and there's ways of doing it. There's cheaper ways, there's more expensive ways, but we do garage conversions all the time. It seems overwhelming right now, but we can fix anything usually. Mm-hmm. And you'll probably have to hire a contractor to assist you.
Yeah. All right. So we have a break. We have a break coming up here in just a second, and I want you to think of. I'm trying to think of all the different things that you can do, but still not need permitting.
Sure.
But when you get the permits, boy, you better make sure that you got that. And trying to remedy it is, I mean, that's what's really. It can kill real estate deals. Did you see that?
It does.
It does, doesn't it?
And it's my fault every time.
You're the permitter.
The sellers who have had their homes for a long time and have done these things to their homes ought to have their ears tuned in and perked up right now, because they could really get in front of some things.
Especially when you want to go to sell it, as all comes back to haunt you, no matter what you think.
Can't hide it.
The Real Estate Show continues. We're with Kimberly London from the City of Medford's Building Department talking about permits. We're coming right back. The Real Estate Show on KMED. The Real Estate Show rolls on KMED. July the 15th is our date. Pete and Joe, the real estate guys, in the house with you today at KMED. Hey, hope you're making July this weekend something fun to happen. The Jackson County Fair going on, and weather continues to be very summer-like. Around.
I love the heat.
It's not, it's summer. It's hot. It always is hot here.
These low to mid 90s we could do a lot worse. I'm
just stay out of the hundreds.
My tomatoes are struggling. I've got no action on my tomatoes, and my yellow squash are not doing well. It's my only concerns for the heat we've had. I know, and it might be also my gardening skills.
Well, today on the show, Kimberly London from the City of Medford's Building Department has joined us, and we're talking about something that real estate brokers, you just come along and you see all the time the issues of permits and what's needed for a permit, what's not permitted. When you see something that's kind of odd, does it have a permit? Your sellers or buyers are going to ask you these questions, and boy, sometimes you don't know the answer, so you're going to have to find somebody like Kimberly to kind of chase down the information because it affects the real estate deal. Obviously, I mean, and Kimberly has seen that firsthand because. I mean, everything, it seems like, from just what you're saying, Kimberly, is that everything comes through you. I mean, you're going to be the one that people are going to come to, the brokers, the buyers, or the sellers, to try to get this, fixed.
There's actually 4 of us at the counter, and we have a general email box, building@cityofmedford.org, that I would like people to email requests with the address. And if there's anything that they would like us to do additional research on, like a garage conversion, attic conversion, basement conversion, the back patio is now a laundry room, or half bath or full bath. You're our eyes and ears. So we're only going to see what we have permits for. So if there's something that is a little bit of a red flag, please bring it to our attention so that we could research it further and make a determination if it did or did not need permits, and if it's even going to become an issue, and let's fix it now.
I've got to email you, give a quick call, or come to the counter. It doesn't really sound that hard of a process. No. And it's not a long and time-consuming process at all to just get an answer, get an idea of where you're at.
Well, yeah, and I mean, sometimes it'll take us a day to research it. But honestly, I'm asking people to email building@cityofmedford.org for a City of Medford property, because then you have it in writing from us also. And you could pass that directly along to the potential purchaser or seller. Say, well, this is the actual email. There's no room for interpretation. It's just there. And it's not you interpreting it. It's not me, somebody else. This is what they said about it. This is how we can rectify the situation. And let's work together and get this fixed.
Now, does a lender say there was a garage conversion that was not permitted, and it's been, the appraiser sees it, obviously, and calls it out or whatever?
Right.
Can you still close that real estate deal? Is it the buyer just has to accept it with the risk involved with it not being permitted? Because the City of Medford's not going to stop the deal because it's not permitted. You're not going to say, no, you can't sell it.
No. What we're going to say is, once the buyer and seller come to an agreement, we would like to know what that agreement is. And it's not just going to go away. So if someone agrees that they want to purchase this property with the garage converted, they're going to need to rectify it. either by putting it back to a garage or obtaining the appropriate permits to legalize it.
Or they can also kick the can down the road, like a 1031 exchange when you kick the tax down the road.
Sure.
But only if the buyer, the next person, accepts it and everything is cool with that. Okay. Now, Kimberly, what you talking about the things that are needed for permits?
Right.
What is not needed for a permit? I mean, is there a thing?
Yeah.
So tell me what's not needed.
So how about a porch?
A porch?
Just a porch attached by an exterior wall that's not irregular and less than 200 square feet. And it doesn't need a permit, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't meet code. So if it's kind of scary or hokey and your neighbor calls us, we're going to go out there and we may have you make adjustments or corrections to it. Decking, some decking does and does not need permits. It depends on the height. The height will trigger whether it needs stairs or railings.
Okay.
Fencing 7 foot or less, but you are not allowed to have a 7-foot fence in your front yard or front setback because we were talking about visibility issues. So please always call the planning department and find out what the height restrictions are based off of your site-specific lot.
Sounds like fencing is a kind of a big topic, isn't it?
You don't want to spend a lot of money to do a fence and then
have
told
it
you
redone.
have to take it down.
And I've seen people have to do that, and that's just, oh boy.
Yeah, so one phone call, or two phone calls, if we could, stop that, we can stop it. But a lot of people just hear 7-foot fence and they're off and running. But you still have to check setbacks and site visibility things. The other item is sheds, little greenhouses, play structures, 200 square foot or less, with an average roof height that does not exceed 10 feet, does not need a permit. You do have to meet your setbacks. So don't put it right on your property line because your neighbor that you just had the barbecue with last week is going to call us, believe me.
They probably will.
And then you are going to be moving it over by the anonymous complaint. So just... if you're going to do it, just make a quick call. Let's figure it out. I had a gentleman just recently, he wanted to do it, but it was for storage purposes, and he didn't want to go through the permit process. And it's like, well, then how about your 200 square foot, shed? Go buy one or have one of the. There's a lot of companies that make them here.
Pre-made. You can stick them on there.
Sure. Now, if you're going to add electrical or plumbing, I absolutely need permits for those things.
Electrical or plumbing?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what about the designs? I've always heard that, you have to give like an architect drawings to get permits to do these changes. Is that required? What do I need to submit? You say you need drawings.
I do need drawings.
Okay.
And the guidelines are on our website, or you can come in and I'll go over it. We have beautiful pictures of what I need to see. And some of the best drawings I've had for permits have been from homeowners.
Really?
So, use your grid paper. Go online and get that free program that you can try out and go down my checklist and, put it together. Or your contractor, a lot of times the contractor does the drawings.
Right.
Also design professionals, not necessarily an architect or an engineer, but an actual designer can do plans if it's just way above you and you're a contractor or you're not interested in doing it. There are some projects that do require architects or engineers, and that would be, habitable space for residential over 4,000 square feet. The same with commercial, but commercial is a whole different ball game. Whole different world. There's a lot more things that need architects or engineers on commercial. But for residential, for the most part, depending on what you want to do, and you're capable of drawing it, and you have our handout with all the pictures and stuff, let's just do it.
It would save some money too, I suppose, if you're looking at that.
You mentioned with our sheds too, and setbacks from the property lines, and people wonder sometimes why are those necessary? I kind of know the answer, but why have setbacks and room that kind of protects the property line and from infringing on your neighbors?
Yeah, it's actually the planning code that would determine what your setbacks would be from a building department, fire, life, safety. If I have, two sheds next to each other on a property line and someone is, doing, their methamphetamine, extractions and blows it up, do you want your shed right next to it, or do you want a little bit of a buffer to stop that fire from hitting your house or your property? That's just an example. Or like with the decks or above ground swimming pools with the decks. We get the calls all the time. The neighbors' kids just stand on the deck and stare at me all day long. and from the and unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do about it. Wave to them or do a dance or
or ask for that 8-foot fence application
there
permit.
You go.
Get
there
the 8-foot fence. That'll take care of that in a hurry. Well,
That's
it's
right.
a fascinating topic. I mean, when you think about all the different things involved. Now, the interior of the houses again? So if I wanted to do a bathroom, if I wanted to change a bedroom, those kinds of things.
Yeah, so
I just want to do it to code. That's the thing I hear from you, right? Mostly?
And you want permits.
And permits.
For insurance purposes. What if you have an insurance claim or a fire or someone gets hurt on your property and your insurance adjuster says, well, where's the copy of the permits for converting that? And I don't have them. So you are protecting yourself in numerous different ways as well. So like you have a house and you want to add another bathroom and you want to take part of the dining room or you just want to take part of a closet in a bedroom and make a half bath or bedroom. You would just come in and we would be able to issue those permits over the counter.
Just come in and get them.
Without plans.
Yeah,
we would give you the guidelines for what would be necessary, the distances from the toilets, the sinks, etc., so that you would have that information. And a lot of times they get that up front and realize maybe they can't do it in that location.
Yeah, well, see, I guess that's what you need to know if you're doing it right, because you don't want to do it wrong because it's going to come back and haunt you. I guess it keeps coming back to that. If you don't do it right the first time, you may have to do it the second time. The Real Estate Show, we're with Kimberly London from the City of Medford's Building Department on permits. We're coming right back. Our final segment right after this here on KMED. The Real Estate Show rolls on KMED. July the 15th is our date. Pete and Joe, the Real Estate Guys, with you here today. Don't forget, next week here on the show, we'll talk about mortgage interest rates. 2 weeks from today, all about septic systems and issues regarding water around them, drain fields, those kinds of things. There's how many thousands of septics are there in Jackson and Josephine County?
It's really a diverse range of topics we're covering this summer.
We go it all around here, I'll tell you that. And, of course, some past shows, 1031 Exchanges with Glenn Cunningham from a few weeks ago. Last week, our boss from John L. Scott, Jim Remley, was here. He's so great about the market. He's got this pulse on it, and it's a terrific show. You can watch them all at realestateshowOregon.com. Today, we're with Kimberly London from the City of Medford's Building Department and talking about permits and permitting. We've learned a lot. Well, I tell you, Kimberly, I've learned a lot here. I can see more than I wanted to know, really, in some respects. Now I can see how Kimberly.
I can see how she has a 1-hour question and answer after her presentations to the realtors, because we could probably do that right now just with the questions I have.
Yeah. So Kimberly teaches a class called Building Blocks. From the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, which is continuing education credit for realtors. And, well, whatever realtors learn, again, we want you to hear as well. So we hear it right
get an hour
from
for
the
today.
source. Yeah, we get it right from the source, which is what Kimberly's done. So we've learned a lot about it. We have learned a lot. But the biggest thing is that people should not be afraid to talk to you at your department or really any of these if they have questions regarding doing something of what is or is not permitted, because it's really kind of cut and dry.
Right. And just ask. That's all that we want. Call us, come in. Let's figure out what you do and do not need permits for. Give me what you want to do, because maybe what your vision is, there's another way of doing it that would be more cost beneficial for you.
Yeah. And you don't need to have drawings done by architects. I've heard that today. I did not know that when they come in to visit with you on some of the things.
On remodels and additions, unless I have something more than 4,000 square feet.
Yeah. Now you do something. You do something once a week. Say if I wanted to get I wanted to add a bedroom onto my house or a bathroom to the outside or something. You've got a process.
Express permits.
Okay, express permits. Now that it's an oxymoron, but what does that mean? Okay.
Yeah, you bring your drawings into us on a Wednesday from 1 to 3, and we have all the staff available to do the review, planning department for your setbacks and lot coverage, engineering department easements, or possibly the systems development charges depending on the caliber of your project, and we're able to issue the permit. It does take about an hour. But you get your permit to construct your whatever addition up to 500 square feet you're proposing to do for residential.
When I'm not traipsing around to those other two offices or waiting to speak to someone there
We're all
anything,
right there,
that is really convenient.
And we come to you with questions. We come up and say, okay, I need this guy, and you come up and you answer your questions, and we're hoping, there may be a few more things that we need, especially if homeowners want to draw their plans themselves. Draw them up and come in before Wednesday and say, hey, take a look at these. Let's tweak them. Let's, figure out what's missing so that it is a smooth process on Wednesday. If you can do it electronically also, that does take approximately 3 weeks to get the permits electronically. So either way, if you're out of state or out of town, it's still all doable. Because we are completely electronic. Big commercial projects with architects, engineers, they're in different states or cities. Everything's submitted electronically, reviewed electronically. It's a wonderful program.
Yeah, I can't think of all the things that you must be involved. I'm trying to think of all the activity within just the city of Medford that you would be issuing permits and things for just tons of them.
And you've been through this whole previous recession and the dip. Did your activity dip with those tough times? It
absolutely did dip. Yeah. And as I said before, the building department is self-sufficient off of permit fees. So luckily, we had enough in reserve that there were not layoffs due from the city of Medford due to that building department.
Thank goodness, because we needed each and every one of you when it picked up again.
We happen to have quite a few people that retired during that time frame. So I'm not going to say there maybe wouldn't have been, but just the way the luck of the draw, we're still going.
Now, when you get your permit, we had the county assessor, Dave Aerosmith, was here a few weeks ago. And remember what he told us, I think, Joe, was that when the permits are issued across by the cities, that the county comes along then every year and gets those permits. And then will physically perhaps come and physically inspect your home again in terms of reevaluating it for property tax purposes, right?
They do have access to our electronic plans, little over-the-counter paper plans. They have access to that as well. The other thing to please remember is if you're being assessed for a garage conversion or an addition, that does not necessarily mean it was permitted. That's a false sense there. The assessor is going to assess what's at your property. They're not going to come back and check to see if
it was permitted.
Correct.
They're going to say that. He assumes what now again? They assume what?
That a lot of people are under the assumption that if it's being assessed as the garage converted and you're paying assessments on that for habitable space, that it's legal, and that would not be a true statement. They're going to assess what's there. So if the assessor is showing it as a garage conversion and you come in and I say it's not, it's legally not a garage It's a garage to us.
It's still a garage to you.
Yes.
Right. And it's about safety and space and all those kind of things, as you mentioned that.
Sure.
It's really fascinating to me. I mean, pools, I think of all the different things that you need them for, that you should do that. I mean, you should get it done right. Because, again, if you come back to sell it, it's going to come back and haunt you no matter what, because it's going to be found, and inspection is going to find those things.
Or an insurance claim.
Or an insurance claim. Sure. I never thought about insurance claims.
That's big problem.
Well, this wasn't permitted and it didn't meet code. You're in trouble, right?
Yeah. There's a copy of your permits. Or even refinancing your house and you want to use that square footage. And it's like, we don't show that square footage. So there's all sorts of things.
Or the appraiser comes out.
We're almost out of time as we usually are. We can go on for a long time with this, but I know you wanted to talk about the city of Medford is doing dealing with disabled access. Tell me what that means.
Well, what we're doing as the city of Medford as a whole is we are conducting a self-evaluation of all of our facilities for accessibility. So if you are at a city facility and you think there's something ADA, American Disabilities Act, that needs to be addressed, please let us know.
That's just within the city
facilities,
city buildings and things like that.
I mean, if you see something somewhere else, a lot of times it met the code at the time it was constructed, and ADA is always changing. So some of the stuff is not within our realm of making them upgrade because they haven't remodeled or done anything. That doesn't mean federal can't do something about it if they choose to, really want something addressed.
All right. And where's the building department located? Because Memphis moved around. Some of the departments moved around a lot. So where are you now?
We are above the Water Commission at 200.
In the Lawsman Annex.
Yes, we are. 200 South Ivy. And the building department opens at 7:30.
7:30.
Most other departments open at 8, but
look at that.
We're here for the people that want to come in before they go to work.
All right, Kimberly London, thanks to visit with you.
Kimberly, thank you.
Learned a lot about permitting today. I hope you did too as well. Yeah, absolutely. That'll do it for the Real Estate Show today. Thanks for joining us here on KMED. For Pete and Joe, have a great week, everybody. God bless you all. We'll talk to you next week here on the Real Estate Show.
You've been listening to The Real Estate Show on KMED Radio, presented by the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, along with John L. Scott Real Estate of Southern Oregon and Bank 34 Mortgage. For guest contact information, download our free app, or to watch a past show, visit us online at realestateshowOregon.com. This show is produced by Table Rock Productions. Join us again next weekend for Southern Oregon's one and only Real Estate Show on KMED. And thank you for making The Real Estate Show part of your weekend.